Go where your best prayers take you, unclench the fists of your spirit and take it easy. Breathe deeply of the glad air and live one day at a time. Know that you are precious and learn to trust. Amen. Please be seated. Well, good morning, everybody. The rain has kind of passed us by, it seems. We couldn't figure out where it was raining from. There weren't any clouds supposedly on radar. You won't believe it, but once again, we're into our 6th summer of doing Lakeshore. It didn't rain a drop out there, and it was pouring down here the whole time. I'm going like, is there a bubble over Lakeshore for us? We've had it right before and right after. What a roll. I want to say hello to everyone who's joining us virtually this morning. And we think of you more than a virtual community. You're part of our community, so welcome everybody from all points across the United States and in Knoxville. We welcome you by YouTube and Channel 12. Also, I want to say a big thank you to Lois Russell, who is in our prayers of Thanksgiving. Since it is baptism, we will not read our normal prayer list. It's printed for you. I hope you'll take a look at it at the doors or look online. But Lois Russell did a great job for years and years. She's well into her, I didn't say that. But she anchored taking care of the flowers and keeping up memorials for like 50 years. So I really thank her for that work. Probably about time she got to retire. So you get to retire from that, Lois. She's still very active and getting around. So thank her. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever been on an airplane with a crying baby? Yes, you have, haven't you? I have too. It brought back a memory. I was thinking about this, and it brought back a memory that's not a recent one. It happened some time ago. And a very dear, serendipitous spiritual thing happened this morning. I hadn't paid attention really to our prayer list, and I was going to tell you a story about Peggy. And then I looked, and today someone's doing a tribute and Thanksgiving for Peggy and Ramsey Harb's life. And I just happened to be telling this story on this day. Very meaningful to me. So, we're on an airplane. We're leaving Jordanian airspace on Air Jordan. There were 16 of us that had gone to the Holy Lands together. And let me tell you about the airplane. It's a great big Airbus. And Air Jordan is a fabulous airline, by the way. But it's a long flight. It's about 12 hours from Jordan back to the United States. And we got a little puddle jumper back to Knoxville. But we got on the airplane, and I realized we were all seated in first class. And it was a little different configuration going over, but coming back, I thought, this is kind of interesting. Kind of about the size of the chapel. You know, there were like 50 of us sitting in first class there. And all that separated us from the rest of the airplane, this huge Airbus, was a curtain. Well, I had to know, so we took off, and I thought, I'm going to go. So I went, once I could walk around, and I opened the curtain. And looking, now you have to get this is like 25 years ago at least, looking to the back of the airplane was this dark blue haze of cigarette smoke, because they smoked serious cigarettes in the Middle East. And they were still smoking on the airline. And so those of us who are non-smokers, along with all the children and women with their children, were in first class. So you get the picture? And about 2 minutes after I sat back down, a baby started wailing. And everybody went. You could just feel the energy. Everybody went. And don't miss it. I'm a dad. So I felt this empathy instantly. One, I've been there before, had a crying child, and everybody says, would you do something with your baby? And then you get very protective. I've been through that drill. So everybody's trying to be polite. And it's a young Palestinian mom. She has another child with her. She cannot console her child. Well, the flight attendants come. They call for a doctor. There's not a doctor on board. I mean, they're doing everything, trying to get this child not to quit crying. It goes on and on and on. And then out of our crew, Peggy Harb, some of you knew, many of you did not, one of the sweetest, most delightful people that's ever lived, got up, left her seat, and went right up. And the mom and the baby were sitting in the front row first class, went right up and sat down. They made room. Somebody got up and changed plates. She sat down right with this mom and went to work. She was a nurse by trade, which was good. They felt a thermometer, found out the baby had a temperature, probably had a very serious earache. And so she did everything. They looked for medicine. They tried everything. Peggy sat up there and rocked that baby and never left. And this, I'm not exaggerating, went on for like 2.5 hours. Everybody else because in first class you could drink everything. No, I'm just kidding. it, it was like, there was nowhere to go. So where do you go at 40,000 feet? You don't go anywhere. And you're trying to be nice, but it's like, oh my gracious. And you feel for the mom, the baby is miserable. You're thinking, I'm miserable. There's, whatever. And the neurons are firing. They're not absent, so I don't want to overplay it. I'm feeling badly for them too. And for all of us, it's just a tough place. It's really interesting, isn't it? All of us have that response, whether you've been a parent or not. You hear a baby crying, we all kind of want to do something. We really do. Peggy could do something. And I want you to know she was lovely. And after that baby slept the entire time, she'd found a little something for the fever. And she was so sweet with the mom. And she speaks Arabic, so it made it perfect that she was the one that reached out. But I realized in that instant, and I've thought about it since, lots of people, all of us, humans have a capacity for empathy and kindness. We do. And let's be honest, in our society, we worry about those who do not. And it's a very small number, but it is troublesome. So let me tell you about a study about kindness, because it's made me think a lot about kindness. The University of Sussex this last year has done one of the most remarkable things I've witnessed in my adult life. They've done a major, major study about kindness. They're working with the BBC. They have come up with a kindness test. 60,000 people took it. 60,000, not a small sample. And so now what they're doing is building upon their research. I think pretty important research. It's not new research. We've been talking about kindness and empathy. I bet you have. I've thought about it for 40 years of my work. But they've really tackled it. So look up University of Sussex and you will find a ton of material. I mean, fascinating material. In fact, you all are going to be invited, and I'm really serious. We're going to take the kindness test as a congregation. I want to see, and it's very in-depth, very insightful. Psychologically, socially, it's very in-depth. It's not simple. They go to the depth of what kindness can be and is. So let me ask you a question. After all their research, where do you think almost everybody, but very clearly the high majority of people, 60,000 who took this, say that they find kindness usually? Where do you think? In their home. Without exception. That was the response. Their experience of kindness is in their home. Now they're going on to tackle really tough things, smart things. We're going to do a leadership series here. Someone has bequested us some money, lovely, to do some leadership training, and I figured it came to me. This is it. How do leadership and kindness go together? Jim Haslam does a lot. He's done things here, and many of you have worked in leadership. I promise you, it's some of the smartest stuff I've ever seen because they do go together. They make sense. You see, we do experience kindness usually with the people who, in their language, you'll love this quaint British language, who are the nearest and dearest to us. We also fight with those people too, don't we? But see, that's natural. But usually the kindness comes out around people that we know and have built trust and love with. And most often, people responded it was with their family. But don't miss it. That's normal. Why we think that's abnormal, I don't know. That's normal. That's human. It's been for all time that way. We're not different than any other humans on this planet. People closest to us generally receive and get back the kindness around them. So you see, it's not that humans kind of vary their kindness. It's where they vary their kindness. Do you catch that? Humans are kind. But the issue then becomes, where are we kind? And that's the challenge. That's the challenge. The research from Sussex is powerful because I think it is, well, look at the world. We are in one of those periods in human history where we need an awful lot of kindness. And by the way, you look at their research, because automatically some of you have gone to kindness and the words wimpy come up, not very rational, just emotional. Well, they're not talking about that. They're talking about real kindness. Real kindness. That's much deeper. See, it's a matter of who and how we individually prioritize. That's what kindness is about. So you can't give it away. If that grabs at you a little bit, sorry, it's the gospel for today. Not my words, it's Jesus. Because he told the quintessential story. It's told by every society since then. People who don't even like Christians or don't care about Jesus tell this story of the Good Samaritan because Jesus nails it. And Jesus knew he was nailing it. So if a man, he's beaten up by robbers, lots of people pass by on the other side of the street, they don't do a thing. But then the most unlikely person reaches out, takes the man, puts him in an inn, and then pays for his care, goes the extra mile. We kind of think it's meant to be about who's good and who's not. I don't think Jesus intended that at all. I never have. I don't think that was his point. See, Jesus in Jesus' day knew that people are kind. It's just who are we kind to and with? And so what's the question? Did you hear the story? Who is my neighbor? Who is your neighbor? Who is your neighbor? That's what Jesus wants us to think on. And that's for you to answer, not for me to tell you. We all have to take that journey. Because, see, I think the church in its wisdom has this as the pivotal foundational story in its history. My gracious, it's one of the first stories I remember as a child. I bet some of you were taught this instantly. I remember I was a little bitty thing and remember this story. We teach it out of the gate because it is what it's all about. And by the way, answering that question, who is my neighbor, does that not happen to you experientially? It happens to me all the time. I was gassing up at Pilot the other day. A woman was there with a baby and a toddler and a broken down car. And I asked myself, what should I do? And I thought about it. You haven't been in that place? Of course you have. When do we step in? When do we step out? What can I do? Should I do? See, there are real reasons we do and don't respond. And that's not this story. That's not today. We'll come back to that at some point. And they're in depth, aren't they? They're real. They can be they are our perspective, but the way we're taught, our blindness sometimes, our own experience, not having other people's experience. Sometimes it's my fear. I don't want to be, I'm afraid to get involved. It can be all that stuff and more. That's a whole other thing that we'll come back to one of these days. But you see, the point is, for us, Jesus wouldn't have said it this way. It's to take what's subconscious and make it conscious. Does that work for you? How about we take something that we don't see easily and put it in a place we can see it? In other words, who is my neighbor? Do I have any idea? I can tell you how I feel. How do I connect that? That's the work. And Jesus told a story that just rings hard and true and wonderful and painful, all the above, because it's so powerfully symbolic and has for 2,000 years, and my guess will go another 2,000. You see, Jesus wants us to take human impulse, which I think is good. Most people want to be kind. Very few people don't have kindness and empathy in them. And take that impulse to a larger, deeper human capacity. Otherwise, why did he tell the story? In other words, you can answer, who is my neighbor? And so can I. And sorry if this hurts your feeling or feelings, but if you don't want to do that, why did you come to church? It's not my words. We come here to wrestle with these questions, and this is a tough question. And it's a game changer. It was in Jesus' day. And I think it would be in our day too. I bet some of you would join me in that. You see, what's interesting is the British have a funny way to say it. So I'll tell you what Sussex said. They said, what this all about is that we all have a circle of moral regard. Now, isn't that very British? Moral regard. In other words, who is in your circle? Because I promise you, you and I know who is not in our circle. How do I know that? I know, and you do too. Sorry, not going to let you off. Time that we don't let anybody off. We know the way we act, how we respond, inside us. No one else may know. I know exactly who's in my circle. Sometimes I can't figure out why they are or why they are not. I don't know that. That's the work. See, it might be kind of simple too, by the way. So don't make this complex. It's like building muscles. You ever had an injury? I've had plenty, orthopedic surgery. Like had knee surgery, my quadricep, boom. Guess what they do? Right out of the gate, you start moving it. Then you add a little weight, get a little more weight, and that muscle that once was muscular rebuilds. It's rebuilt. Took a year, but they said it'd take a while, but it does. You see, it's like building that muscle of kindness and empathy. Because it's really simple. Kindness creates kindness. It always has and always will. You don't have to make that happen. I promise you, if you are kind, you will engender kindness. When you are treated kindly, you feel a particular way, and it will make you more open and spontaneous to kindness. It is so simple. See, Jesus doesn't even address that. The how you do it, not so important. Kind's being kind. Even children know when we're not being kind. So when we experience kindness, think about kindness, are aware of kindness, the more possibly then we will build that kindness into our world and into our practice. Do you see sweet Meredith, who is now very quiet? She must be playing on the phone. She is playing on the phone. I just busted her. Maybe she's watching the TV service. I don't think so. She is adorable. Did you see her picture? Her mom and dad, Heather and Taylor, were telling me about her this morning. She is a sweet little girl, 15 months old. She likes to play outside. She's real inquisitive. She already can run the phone. In fact, she's already fixed my iPhone this morning. I handed it to her. She's a normal child. She sleeps a lot, but she plays a lot. But just watching her, I could tell how interested she is in things. She sleeps a lot. I'm jealous of that. She's one of those sleeping children. What was interesting, they said that she's sweet, just sweet. And I thought, that's why we bring her here this morning. We're trying to help her train her own attributes, be aware of her attributes. If she's sweet now, maybe we'll make her more sweet. Maybe in a Christian way, we'll teach her that sweetness could be kindness, actual compassion, actually where you really care about somebody who's in trouble. Whether you do anything or not, that'll be another sermon we'll talk about. But to build what is innately in her, a sweet way to see the world, that maybe for her, maybe her circle right now is mom and dad and grandparents and soon-to-be siblings. That's the fun thing. In October, she's going to have a baby sister or brother. Maybe that circle for her is small, but maybe, you see, with their efforts, parents, godparents, family, friends, and our effort, the church at large, her circle will get bigger. Wouldn't it be nice to think that we have started a journey this morning with her? Every time we bring a child, we start them on the journey to increase their circle of regard for the people they can act toward with kindness and compassion. I think it's the kind of hope that Jesus thought we might find, the kind of hope that we might value, the kind of hope that we might practice, so that kindness might become a rule and not an exception. Amen. And now, if you'll stand with me.